Hello, Geeks and Nerds. Welcome to another episode of Real Geeks.
Hey, guys.
Paula's back.
I am back.
Yeah, we don't know how we talked her into another one, but...
A little bit of insanity, anyway, I'm here.
So, we're here today talking about Venom. And this is a movie that I'm sure you all know.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay.
We've been gangbusters to talk about this movie. I still don't know how I feel about this movie. I'm probably going to come to a conclusion about how I feel about this movie by the time we're wrap this. That's how much I'm in the air about this movie. And with that said, let's get into it. So, Mike, what are your thoughts on this movie?
I figured we should start with some basic plot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the writers didn't necessarily do that, but...
Aliens show up, aliens want to eat people,
Yeah,
aliens get beat up.
It was like, the movie opens with the shuttle of plot convenience crashing to Earth. But, like, basically, if you've watched the mid-90s Spider-Man cartoon, it was that origin for Venom. Which, like...
As opposed to the movie one that we saw a couple years ago.
Yeah, the Sam Raimi one that we don't discuss. But yeah, so the shuttle owned by the Life Foundation, which is oddly, accidentally the most evil-sounding corporate name ever.
All things considered, yes.
I mean, it crashes in Malaysia because, again, Chinese market. I'm not wrong here.
I did miss that.
I was literally thinking that when it happened. I was like, China.
No, I did miss the landing site, which explains a couple things, actually. Yeah.
So the Life Foundation either somehow sends their own people in or magically has cameras on the Malaysian emergency personnel, because sure, why not? I don't know which one of those it was.
Well, I mean, we did get the whole thing later in the movie with the drones, so for all we know, there were drones there, and they just didn't reveal them until later
there were a couple scenes where you do see drones, but a lot of what it looked like they were viewing in the control room was body cameras.
So I guess they had people on the ground, but...
Sure!
Well, and again, I mean, this is why I missed the whole landing site being in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Because he did have his people there. There were what I thought were Americans there. I may have missed that or misinterpreted that. But they were on the ground. They were able to recover their property quickly. So I thought it was his crew that met with the crashed ship.
Yeah, like, it might have been... There might have been some kind of customs arrangement afterwards. Because, like, apparently in this movie, national sovereignty means nothing.
No.
Because, I mean, Malaysia, yeah, not exactly a superpower, but I don't think that they're going to let a private corporation into this space crash site.
Unless they've already had some sort of setup in Malaysia and maybe some other countries, that kind of... Because the guys...
Corporate offices, different locations.
Because Riz Ahmed's character... Jesus.
Drake.
Yes.
He's Elon Musk with more genius and less ethics.
And probably the only one I liked.
Yeah. Carlton Drake.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a multi-billionaire character kind of thing. And chances are, if he has this foundation, whatever, it's probably got some dealings in multiple countries around the world. So maybe he has a setup in Malaysia, and when they knew that the crash happened, they made sure to get people from them to the site as quickly as possible before the main authorities got there.
Maybe, and I mean,
we're
setting this movie up more than the movie did.
That's my point.
Yeah.
But in any case, paramedics are on the scene pretty damn quick.
Conveniently.
And yeah, so one of the astronauts survived the crash, And as the paramedics are driving him away, we learn it's only because one of the symbiotes got inside of him, and he just transfers from one host to another.
But even before we get to that part, we have Drake or somebody saying that one of the samples is missing. There were 4 samples all told, 3 have been collected, 1 is missing. So those that watch any amount of movies can kind of
assume that's kind of happened. And then we basically throughout the rest of the movie we get this little montage of Jason Goes to Hell.
Touch tag. Tag, you're in.
Which at one point the symbiote transfers into a little girl, and I'm like, oh my god.
Now explain how this little girl is walking all over the city on her own with no parents around. Apparently it's not Halifax. So, you know.
Well, and that actually does lead to another core problem with this film that kind of jumped out of the marketing, where, like, at almost no point in this film do we see really police, firefighters, or, like, authority figures of any kind after that crash. I mean, yes, they should. Like, you see a couple of patrol officers after the major action sequence in San Francisco, but I kept thinking the promotional material. They kept saying, and I left after the movie going,
there aren't enough heroes in this movie.
Apparently, the hero count on this world is 0. I think we forgot a slight detail here.
Yeah.
Anyway, we meet up with Eddie Brock, played by Tom Hardy in this movie. He's
well, to be precise though, and again, this is another thing that drove me crazy since the first trailer. We meet Tom Hardy playing Terrence Howard for some strange reason, playing Eddie Brock. He's impersonating Terrence Howard for the entire movie. I don't understand why. Terrence Howard was Rhodey in the first Iron Man. Was the main star in Hustle and Flow. He sounds exactly like Tom Hardy did in this movie.
Gotcha.
And
I don't understand the voice.
Now, Tom Hardy was also one of the names behind the scenes, executive producer or director,
yes.
Or...
Yeah, typically speaking, when you have a big name actor involved with a project like this, they usually get some sort of producerial credit on it because they usually, as a big name, have a bit more clout to kind of throw around, and they usually play some element of creative in it.
It's funny that you mentioned that Tom Hardy is a big name, because before I knew he was playing Venom, I'd never heard the name.
Really?
I'm gonna have to go home now and check his IMDb and find out what he's been in, because I am not familiar with him.
He played Bane in The Dark Knight Rises.
That might explain why I wasn't too keen on his acting.
But yeah, there's a reason we've pretty much strayed from the movie after describing the first act, because the first act sucks.
Yes.
I was bored out of my mind. Like you have the shuttle crash, and then the Venom title screen comes up, and I'm thinking, I should be feeling uneasy. This should feel ominous, but I didn't care.
And then we get this whole sequence of like us being introduced to Eddie Brock and giving us sort of the reasoning why he's not in New York and he's in San Francisco instead. The reasoning why he's a television investigative journalist as opposed to a newspaper reporter. And so on and so forth. The reasons why he's this instead of this.
Little thing I noticed there was that little intro thing for his TV show. There was a point during that narrative where he says, "Our Google overlords," and I could have sworn that the image they cut to was the Apple campus, which was the weird. That just threw me right off. I was like, that's the new Apple campus that people keep saying looks like a spaceship. Which, yes, is because it does.
Well, I mean, we'll have to go back and look at that and pick it apart when the home video release happens.
And I will readily admit that I only caught this because I'm a total Apple whore, but
I was at that point in time. I was trying to control my vertigo / nausea. We saw the 3D version last night, and that whole sequence it was painful. I'm flipping between, do I have the 3D glasses on without my regular glasses? Do I try with my regular glasses without the 3D glasses? There was too much movement, and you can tell without the shades which ones were 3D and which frames were not 3D, and it was very distracting. So I missed half of it.
I half expected you to say you were trying to stay awake.
I was fighting too much with the whole.
Yeah, I saw it in IMAX because I'm an IMAX whore. And yeah, honestly, the 3D was. If you're going to see it in IMAX, sound-wise, it's good for that. 3D, kind of pointless.
Try to stay as close to the middle as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, the 3D. I would say the 3D wasn't bad per se, just not really necessary.
It wasn't. Anything that I noticed that was 3D, the drones, for example, there was no point because they were all going this way away from the screen. Isn't the whole point of 3D to make you feel that you're in it and things are coming at you?
You would think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then don't bother going to see the 3D. Go to the 2D version.
It wasn't bad, but it's clearly just there for the studio to get the higher ticket prices.
That's exactly it. And it makes sense when it's going up against a movie like A Star Is Born in the same weekend. Like, you know what? Like, I'm going to tell you right now, because we're shooting this on Saturday, but I am predicting that Venom will make the top of the box office, but it's only going to do it because it's got the increased prices of 3D and IMAX and D-Box and all these other premium formats.
Which junkies like you will go watch.
Exactly. Yeah. If it wasn't for those premium formats, just on ticket sales alone, I guarantee you that A Star Is Born would edge out Venom.
Oh yeah, in all honesty, like realistically, A Star Is Born, it's not going to be Venom. But man, would I love it! I would love to see that.
I actually did see the trailer during Venom last night, and not a huge Gaga fan, but it does look good. So.
No, yeah, just the idea of Lady Gaga beating Venom at the box office is amazing.
Yes. So. Do we really even have much more to say about the plot beyond getting into spoiler territory?
Not a whole lot. Like, I think this, while it doesn't do it as badly as Peppermint did, it is also clearly rushing from point to point. Which is odd because, again, I spent the entire first act going, where the fuck? Get to Venom already!
And this is the funny thing, too, because at least with Peppermint, we can, as we kind of discussed, we can somewhat excuse it, but this is a bigger studio.
Yeah.
And they still didn't give us that kind of proper character development. They really rushed through the whole Eddie Brock thing. They really rushed through Michelle Williams' whole thing. They even rushed through Riz Ahmed's whole thing, just to finally get us to that point where Venom is there. And like, I know you were like, get us to Venom already, but at the same time, there still needs to be some level of establishment, and I feel like what they had was okay at best.
Yeah, like I think a lot of it, I think for me, came down to they wasted so much time, and they set up a lead character that I cared about as much as I did Tom Cruise in The Mummy. Like, when Cruise in The Mummy is supposed to be like the lead, the hero character that the audience connects with. You at no point care. He's he's an asshole.
Because he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole, and you hate him the entire movie.
I take it this is another reboot?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because I've seen the original. Well,
They tried to reboot the Universal Monsters.
Yeah.
That didn't go well. And in Venom, when we were introduced to Eddie, it was the same thing for me. It was like, okay, one, I could see every single point in Eddie's introduction where Spider-Man would have come in, where Spider-Man would have influenced him, and the way they tried to do it, it's so much tell, don't show that it doesn't work. And again, he's such an asshole, like, I should sympathize with him.
But you don't.
No, all I could think was, you deserve everything you
Exactly.
got.
And it wasn't until after he had been basically taken to this lower place that you start to see him trying to be a good person.
well,
And-
it's pretty bad when an alien symbiote who doesn't know what a loser is calls you a loser. I mean,
Yeah.
that right there is fairly telling.
Well, it's kind of sad when an alien symbiote learns the concept of being a loser from being connected to the mind of a loser.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think now we're going to go straight into spoilers. Because that's just one little thing I need to get off my chest right now.
Okay.
Hey, Internet! Tom Holland is not in this movie! Fuck you, I was right! I feel better now.
I was gonna ask if you did. Now that you've got that off your chest. Yeah.
Fan speculation is not a reliable news source!
So you just said that the origin story in the movie that we watched is more in keeping with the comic books.
It's keeping in the comic books if you pull Spider-Man out and put very little effort into trying to cover that up.
Okay.
Because it's in the comics, it was basically, in the mid-90s cartoon anyway, which is frankly more where I know Venom from. It's Brock is fired from the Bugle for falsifying a news story about Spider-Man. So he blames Spider-Man, he blames Jameson, he blames everyone but himself. And so Venom, when the symbiote connects, the Venom persona is essentially formed from his anger towards Spider-Man and refusal to take responsibility for his own actions.
Oh, woe is me, the world sucks, and none of it's my fault.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So we at least did get that part last night.
Bits and pieces. You don't see Eddie really openly just blaming everyone else. We're told that he does.
Yes, this is true.
But Hardy himself doesn't really do anything with that.
No.
Now, there was, going back to script, there was one thing, Drake says, have a nice life. His boss says, have a nice life. I was waiting for the trifecta. Michelle gives him back the ring and then doesn't say have a nice life.
Yeah.
That was an opportunity that they totally missed.
Instead, the running gag is biting people's heads off.
I wonder if the bad guys taste better than the good guys.
I would think, because apparently Venom's palate is now, shall we say, somewhat limited.
Yes. Let's hope that they.
But
Chinese food and tater tots.
there are so many instances, especially when Brock first gets the symbiote, and holy God, did they rush that? Where you don't see Eddie questioning how he can suddenly leap to the top of a 200-foot tall tree. Until well after the moment when he should have.
Klaxons, alarms, men with guns. He may have been a little distracted. Adrenaline. I'm giving it an out.
there's some like him beating up 20 highly trained guards. That's where I can give him the out.
Yeah.
Climbing up the tree. Is
Suddenly
a bit of a
leaping
stretch.
up a tree and not questioning it, you've blown your out.
Well, I mean, the look on his face was kind of like, what the fuck just happened? But
I kind of could have used a bit of dialogue there.
Now,
it was a PG-13 movie. You're allowed one fuck at least. So he should have said
Right there!
He should have just said right there, what the fuck?
We had discussed another movie earlier this week.
Yo, you remember the whole Armageddon Deep Impact thing? Dread in the Raid.
White House down and Olympus has fallen. Friends with benefits and so on. And so
That
forth.
other movie that no one cares about.
Yeah.
We got another one!
Yep.
So, earlier this year, a little indie film came out called Upgrade that unfortunately didn't make it to theaters here.
It actually did.
Did it?
Yeah.
Then it was one limited run.
Yeah, it was. It lasted 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I was good. Like, I never even saw it on listings or anything.
Yeah, I played it at theater I work at, actually.
Okay. So, this movie Upgrade stars Logan Marshall Green as
Who you'd remember from Prometheus.
as
maybe.
budget. He's budget Tom Hardy. Like, I'm sorry, the man looks like Tom Hardy to a degree that is disturbing.
It is.
He sounds like Tom Hardy.
It is uncanny.
But I liked him better than Tom Hardy.
Frankly, yeah, he's in
Well,
Upgrade.
again, the difference is that in I mean, I didn't see the movie like you two have, but I've seen the trailers.
Yeah.
And I've read the synopsis, and my understanding of it is that just from that alone, that his character would be more relatable because he's a man who loses his family and seeks revenge against it's basically Peppermint, but it's more sci-fi and a little more.
Oh yeah, it's not
tech-
quite.
With a computer chip-like symbiote.
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, it's Venom. Put it like a dash of Blade Runner, a bit of every revenge story ever, and you pretty much get Upgrade. And this is better acted than Venom, a better story than Venom.
Better choreographed.
Yep,
You can obviously
way better
tell
choreography
when the human is in charge and when the symbiote is in charge, and like the mannerisms, the voice, the everything. You can tell which one is in charge.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit more blending with Venom. You could still tell, obviously, when Tom Hardy's arm turns into this black mush, and you know that that's the symbiote.
Yeah.
But there's a little more blending, and I don't think I liked that. I think I like the Upgrade version better. I mean, you have this, mega huge persona, body, whatever, smushed down, and trying to figure out and work within the confines of a body that isn't yours. And there was too much blending.
Oh yeah, and the other thing, and it just feels really weird to say this. Tom Hardy was outacted by Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy as Venom, because he did like the body stand. He did the voice work for Venom.
The same as
Yeah.
Riz Ahmed did for Riot, which we'll get into in a
Oh
minute.
yeah, and Tom Hardy's Venom was a million times better than Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock. I didn't care about the lead until Venom showed up.
I did like Venom. Overall. I mean, I liked the character, how it was done. I think the whole theater laughed when he scaled up the tall building and then started to fall, and then jump, and you see him going through the elevator, pussy. That, I think that was the funniest part.
He had some great one-liners like that. It was also a bit problematic because it felt like and I think part of this is the PG-13 rating. It was like they didn't know what to do. there were points where it felt like they were trying to be a horror movie. There were points where it felt like they were trying to be like a science fiction comic book movie. And there were points where they were trying to be a pure action movie. Pick one!
Yeah, action would have gone and won out nicely.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, action I think would have even been the stronger route because that whole chase scene was probably one of the more engaging things of the movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I
love the dynamics of how Venom was interacting with him while he was on the motorcycle and how he was using his powers to kind of evade the traffic and all that sort of stuff. And then when the moment where you think they're cornered, and then Venom just uses himself to kind of maneuver the bike turn and out of the way, I was like, shit, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. No, it looked.
And this is why I have such a hard time figuring out how I feel about this movie, because there are parts of it that are just so cool to look at, and then there are other parts of it that I'm like, they're just turds in the wind.
Okay. And actually, another positive, speaking of stupid dialogue, and I breathed an audible sigh of relief in the theater when I realized this.
We call them symbiotes.
Was
It's
not
in the movie.
They, at least I think they probably heard the backlash from the trailer, and they were like, okay, we're going back and fixing that shit.
I was just gonna say, like, there's often that running joke about how if you listen to the internet, you get snakes on a plane. Sony, you should listen to the internet a little more often. This, honestly, I think, as far as non-MCU comic book films go, at least, it's my Thor 2. This is that same. I went in expecting to absolutely hate it.
Yeah, and you come out, you're like, it wasn't terrible.
It's like, okay, well, that wasn't DC garbage at least. No, I think I'm thinking good time to go to ratings. And I think for me, like, this is a 2.
I was literally just
It's a 2.
I was just going to say 2. Oh my god.
I thought you guys were going to give it a 3, and I'm like, I'm going to be a low 2. Yeah.
2s across the board, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't hate it, and I think if you're gonna, like, if you're a hardcore Venom fan, like, I know fellow cosplayers here who are major Venom fans.
And I saw a few major Venom fans coming to see the early screenings and such.
I think for them, I think there's enough here that a major Venom fan is probably gonna go, yeah, good enough. It's better than Spider-Man 3, so, like, there's at least that improvement. So with that, next month. We're going to Sherwood Forest. We're doing Robin Hood. Because I have no shame. And my god, this thing looks awful.
You have a penchant for B movies. Like, what's the alphabet scoring for a movie below B rating?
We could have.
Below B rating would be Gem and the Holograms. You want to see me really erupt during a movie?
Oh god. But yeah, like, we could have done Ralph Breaks the Internet. We could have done Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. We could have done The Nutcracker. Hell, we could have done Overlord. But we're going with Robin Hood because this guy's too giddy about it.
And this is the one set in future times.
I wish.
Okay.
This is this is if you've ever watched Arrow, take that and just lock, stock, and barrel into medieval times.
Oh dear.
Real Geeks is a Geeksploitation production and is made possible with the support of geeks and nerds like you.
Anyway,
We're not even going to sign off. I'm just putting a hard cut right there. Yeah, we're just there's no way I'm ending on anything other than that. We're just done.
Okay.
It's over.